Dr. Peter Bronsky. I'm a board-certified specialist in orthodontics, and I'm here with John and Diane today, and we're going to discuss the importance of grandparents in orthodontic health for their grandchildren. We have lots of families where the grandparents are involved with the grandchildren and are looking out for problems that they might have. And we have 4 of their grandchildren that are under my care, and I wanted to go through the process of why it's so important for grandparents to kind of evaluate what problems there are and then make sure they all come in to be evaluated, and that way we can prioritize what the different issues are. So what John and Diane had said to me was that they knew that their grandchildren had orthodontic problems, and they may or may not have been able to be taken care of by their families, and didn't want their problems to get more severe from a dental health perspective, and also from a perspective of them being embarrassed in school, not having nice smiles, people starting to make comments about them. So they took it upon themselves to say, no, this is not going to be okay, and we want to make sure that we've done everything possible for our grandchildren. And they were smart enough to know that their grandchildren had developmentally related problems, meaning jaws didn't line up, overbites, impacted teeth, and they also knew that waiting for everything to go wrong didn't make any sense. So they brought their grandchildren in one at a time, and we assessed them. The picture you see right here is Ava, and she is 11 now, but when she started, they knew that she had an overbite, meaning her lower teeth were actually biting right up into the roof of her mouth, and they also knew that she had some teeth that were twisted here, and that they were concerned that some of her adult teeth might be impacted and wouldn't be able to come in. They also knew by looking at her mouth that her top teeth fit right down on top of the lower, which was an indication that the jaws weren't lining up. So they looked in her mouth, took the effort, and said, well, between the overbite and the potential for impacted teeth and the developing jaw problem with cross bites where the teeth weren't fitting together, they knew she had problems in every category that were significant and wanted to get her evaluated. So they brought her in and were able to start treatment. But the key was they took the initiative and said, no, this isn't going to be okay for me to sit and watch while my grandchildren's problems got worse. They said, we're going to bring them in one at a time for evaluation. So the first thing I want to do was thank them. The second thing is that we have this running joke with John and Diane. It's like, he's like, oh, well, yes, I work in construction, but not mouth construction, and yet I know more about orthodontics than I ever thought that I would. So we have this running joke, and he's like, you know, I can see the jaws are lining up better, and I can see the impacted teeth are working themselves down. So it's kind of a running joke that we have, that he never thought in his whole life, and the same with Diane, that they would know this much about orthodontics, and yet by being educated, they can educate other parents and grandparents and say, you know what? These problems are not going to get any better on their own. Unfortunately, not all dental offices are going to be focusing in on these problems. They're focused on problems like cavities and other types of problems. And if you take a look, she has problems that don't look severe, but yet they are severe. The rotated teeth here, they knew that there were some teeth that were blocked on the top. They knew that her bottom teeth were biting in the roof of her mouth as an overbite, and it was uncomfortable for her to close. And they knew that she couldn't really chew that well because her teeth didn't fit together. And they knew that she needed to proceed with care. So not all orthodontic problems are obvious, and most orthodontic problems in developing children need to be looked at. We recommend age 7. They brought them in whenever they could and recognized the problem, and then one after the other we went through and evaluated it. And when we had our consultations, made me laugh. They knew all the problems even before I said anything, because they had actually been through things before. So the first thing I wanted to do was thank them for being on top of things and for taking the responsibility. But I see it as a huge trend in our current population that the grandparents are like the bedrock of families nowadays, and they literally have to take charge of the orthodontic health of their grandchildren and not like close their eyes and say, oh, it's not my responsibility, or it's going to get better, or how can we possibly do this? We pretty much went down the list. We decided who needed what when and prioritized them, and they've been supportive throughout the whole process. So I'd like them to kind of tell their story, but I wanted to give a little bit of a background as to how this whole process started and how they became super educated in orthodontics, but also knew that they needed to take charge and didn't want their grandchildren to not be taken care of just because it wasn't something that someone had said to them, oh, you better do this. They recognize the problems on their own. So, so go ahead and kind of tell your
Well, first off, I'd like to say this guy's amazing. I mean, I've seen the work he does, and you could just see it in his eyes and his face, and it's amazing what he does. Anyway, you got to get there early. That's one thing.
We didn't realize.
We didn't realize how early. If they go too far, but sometimes you can't do it.
It's a lot more money.
A lot more money, a lot more time.
And suffering.
And sometimes you can't get there from here, just because things have gone too far beyond.
Right. Yeah. And what else was I going to say? Something. Go ahead, Diane. Take over for a second.
No, I was just saying the importance of that. Yeah, that to get the kids in.
And also, we have to understand that it's not only cosmetic.
Yeah, that's another.
In Aiden's case, it would have actually distorted his face, which would have been terrible. He's a good-looking guy. Same thing with Ava. They're beautiful girls. Who wants them to suffer? I don't.
Yeah. So
I'm just saying, get there early.
It's more than just cosmetic.
Before they develop fully, before teens, I would say.
Yeah.
Right. And go through a thorough evaluation with an expert like myself and figure out who needs what when. I mean, you know, there might be someone who has teeth that are crowded and that looks like the worst problem, and then when you look on x-rays and do an exams, there might be somebody like Ava with her bottom teeth biting in the roof of her mouth. She can't chew well because of the overbite and the traumatic bite and crossbite. And then when you come up here and take a look at these bulges, they're the canine teeth that are impacting, running right into those. So it isn't the most obvious people that need the problem, but you can never know who needs what when unless you get in at the right time. We recommend age 7, but you got him in as soon as you could and realized that there were problems that weren't going to get any better. And then once we started with 1, you would say to me,
like,
okay,
there's a lot
more going. They have the same genetics, and once you saw 1,
you knew something.
You pretty much self-diagnosed the rest of the group, and we just pretty much brought them in one at a time, made problems, figure out who needed what when, and they've been extremely supportive and understanding that they're doing something in their grandchildren's lives that are going to improve their dental health, they're going to improve their bites, they're going to improve their smiles, they're going to improve their psychosocial self-image. And today, people are just, I don't even know a better word than cruel. It's just like, you know, if somebody has twisted teeth, they'll start making fun of them. Exactly. And then the grandchild is like, you know, withdrawn, or people are making fun of them, and then they pile on, they don't want to smile, they're not interacting. So you're right, it's not about the aesthetics of things, but there are so many different factors, and the nice part is if they have a jaw problem or a bite problem or a crowding problem, we can end up making their smile better. And once people know that they're under care, even if it doesn't look good, it's like one of those signs that says, sorry for our appearance, you know, under construction. It's like, as soon as they know that something is being taken care of, automatically it's like, well, oh, you have a bad smile, well, I'm having my teeth, and that neutralizes it. And they feel better about themselves, and they feel cared for by their grandparents. And the last thing I want to say, and this is a big thing, it's like, you know, you could take your grandchildren to sports, or you could, you know, take them for drives, or you can celebrate their birthday, but being involved with their health care in a dental perspective and an orthodontic perspective isn't something that usually happens. I mean, they now associate you with taking care of their mouths. And it's like, look what they did. And then as they get older and older, and have nice smiles and feel good about themselves and don't have distorted jaws. Like you said, Aiden had this big jaw shift where his face was going to be uneven had we not fixed it. What do you do then? There are no easy ways to do it. And you're right, he feels good about himself. And one of the older ones, and the positiveness feeds on to the next one. And whatever it is, they're anxious to have things taken care of. And you can explain to them and say, we're going to bring you in, we're going to have you evaluated, we're going to figure out who needs what when, and we're going to all do it together as a team. And as you said, I'm enthusiastic because I love that you are learning all these things, and you can pick up problems that the average grandparent wouldn't know, let alone a lot of dentists wouldn't know by looking here. And I remember you saying, well, I remember you told me when there's a bulge right there and a twisted tooth, there's probably an impacted canine, we better get in. And then I could see the overbite and the crossbite. And it was like, and then when they all came and we had the consult, I pretty much sat back, and they too did the consult for me and said, how soon can we get started? So I feel like grandparents need to be in charge of their grandchild's orthodontic health. The sooner they bring them in, the better. And as John said, it's not all about the smiles. People think orthodontics is about a pretty smile, and yes, that's an important thing for us, but it isn't really the main thing. He's a construction guy. It wouldn't be like he put the second floor on a house that forgot the reinforcing bar on the foundation. It's like, oh yeah, this looks great, and it's going to crumble in 2 years. So I feel like your background and our training together has really been a key.
Absolutely.
Very
to success.
And I love to see your face when you see how well they're doing.
Because you can see it as they're proud.
It is.
And you're so proud. Well, she should be.
I am, because it's like, look what we're doing. We are changing their lives, and it will go on forever. And the last thing I want to say is that by you doing this, you will be increasing your grandchild's orthodontic IQ and dental IQ, which they will pass on for generations. So it's really super important, because you're saying this is important. Keep your teeth clean. Make sure you have a good bite. Make sure you don't have impacted teeth. And because you've instilled that on them at a young age, they're going to pass that on, and you will be thrilled. When your great-grandchildren have a problem, they'll be like right on it, and you'll be right on it, and say, okay, at age 7, we're getting right in, and we need to get it taken care of. So I wanted to thank you guys again for coming in. But I feel like whenever we look at families today, the grandparents are so important in making sure the orthodontic health of the grandchildren is taken care of, and it could easily just fall by the wayside, and then you'd be remorseful. Oh, I wish we would have known. I wish someone would have told something. So by getting in Aiden, it was like a domino effect. They were like, let me see your teeth. It's like, how many grandparents like, oh, I'm washing my hands and checking your teeth. Oh, we're gonna set you up with Dr. Bronsky for an evaluation, because I don't want any problems that we can't see go untreated.
Yeah,
So it's good that the grandparents are involved, because the parents are busy. The parents are working.
You need more support.
I'm retired, so I take them to most appointments.
Yeah, it's very
we're helping financially. Yeah. So it's working all the way around.
And also when they're with you, to remind them to do their brushing,
always.
Flossing, and you can focus on them. So, but it's like, but you can say, oh, Dr. Bronsky gave me this job to make sure you brush and floss. That takes the heat off of you, but we still get the job done. Yeah. But I just wanted to, go ahead.
Call her Colonel Kiki.
Oh, she is, okay.
She's got them.
She's
get in there.
She's in charge of oral hygiene.
Follow them around and make sure. Yeah, I know.
Good. Well, I wanted to thank you, John and Diane, again for coming
You're very
in.
welcome.
And
I
just
thank you.
And just for doing all the things you do and realizing that everything multiplies in a positive way.
Absolutely.
Having better bites, getting the teeth in, having their smile look better, making them feel better about themselves, and it's just a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
So thanks for coming in, and we want to educate other grandparents to take control, because it isn't something people think about. Oh, no. Why would I do this? It's like you did, and I think that there's so many grandparents that are taking charge of many aspects of their grandchildren's daily activities, including dental health and orthodontic health. And thanks so much for coming in. It's a pleasure working with you. And you're right, I'm excited every time I see you, because I just love to see the progress that each of them have.
And every time you see the kids there.
Another
inch.
Right, but I said I'm sure I'm glad that we're down to number 8 on the problem list.
Right.
It says starting now, because we'd be way behind.
Oh,
and instead of it being a developmental process where we're working on it, it would turn into a salvage mission where everything went wrong. And as you said, it's harder to do. There's more complications. So thank you for everything you do. And we're going to continue taking care of your grandchildren.
Great. Thank you
Take
very
care.
much.
Thanks.